everybody, and welcome back to Self-Authored. Today, I want to talk to you guys about free will today, and not in the sense that you hear about, like with Sam Harris, and we're all determined, or maybe here in the Bible is in God gave everybody free will. But we'll tap into some of those a bit today. It's the idea that I believe that free will is a choice, first of all, and then secondly, a muscle that we need to work out. And here's why I believe that. I always find it funny when you hear philosophers or anyone for that matter say everything's determined, you have no choice in the matter, and then they follow that up with, well, here's what we should do and why. And it's always like, well, we should have certain rules such that it deters people. And I find that very interesting because that implies that they have the free will to choose and that they can freely find out what goes on or what would be the best way to go about things. But it seems like there's more to it than that. And where I notice it most is in politics. It seems that take away the middle ground, but the extremes talk, and you hear the idea of the right seems to say that we have total free will and it's everyone's fault, whether they're success or success if they use it wisely, right? And the left goes, well, we're not that free. And it's this idea of, well, oppression is a constraint on free will. And there is something to that. I would say there's a lot to that. And here's what I mean by that. When I say free will is a choice, what I mean is if you look at the way you grew up, you're kind of causally determined between the culture and constraints of society that you're growing up within, as well as your biology. And what I mean by that is, look at a kid. A kid has no free will. They're told everything what to do. And as you grow up, you're slowly given things that you can play around in your free will, so to speak. You know, you can play with your toys freely, but you're playing with your toys. And then you're allowed to do certain chores and stuff like that, but you're still told to do them. And it's not until maybe junior high or high school that an individual really begins to play around with free will. And even then, at that point, you're 12 to 14 years deep into it, such that you're kind of on automatic, so to speak. And that's where we always say, well, you're determinant of your culture and the society, and it tells you what to do. But I also want to bring the biology into it. And this is the argument that I think is really powerful when you explain you have a sexuality and you have certain things about you that are wired up genetically. And it's not to say your genetics give you everything and tell you everything the way you're supposed to be, but they play a big role. It's as if they're the thing that gets the snowball rolling and you can kind of guide the snowball, but it's still going downhill in a certain direction, so to speak. And so it's this idea that certain people are more predisposed to certain things. When you look into personality theory, there's what they call the big five. There's this, a few of them, the name is like conscientiousness, and those are related to people who tend to work harder than others, although that's a crappy example. Also openness, there's going to be agreeableness or disagreeableness on the opposite side of that spectrum, how neurotic you are, stuff like that. And those tend to be related to the way your brain is wired up, as well as a few other factors. And they're mediated, picture it like on a scale, and it can slide either left, or actually that's right on your side, huh? It can slide over different directions depending on the environment, but you're still kind of constrained within a little band of movement. And then traumatic events can move it here or there. And the society in which you grow in can constrain it to one direction or the other. And that's what I think is happening when you hear people talk about the Swedish countries, when they say, well, the statistics show that when you release the societal constraints on men and women, they actually become more diversified as far as their jobs. More people-based fields fill up with women, and more things-based fields fill up with men. And I believe that proves the idea that the biology does have a pull to it based on the way you're wired up. But it doesn't tell you everything. But it also backs up my idea that the society is going to pull that one way or another. And it shows that it does determine it in a bit of a way. But take a look at, the best way I think to look at this is look at Freud. Freud has his old ideas of there's the id, the ego, and the superego. And so the ego is the you in the middle. The best way to think about this is there's everything that comprises all the little sub-personalities in your brain, the things that want to eat, things that want to get laid, things that want to go have fun, the things that want to be successful, the things that want to be loved. All those parts of your brain are all brought together by virtue of the ego. It's able to pull them all together in one little being for you, one little identity. And then you have the id. The id, the way I like to look at it in this example, is it's the biological roots of everything that's kind of guiding you. And you're kind of constrained to that. Think of it back to Katy Perry's song, Chained to the Rhythm, right? I think it really fills this idea out that you are chained to the rhythm of both your society, which is the superego above you, and the culture that it determines for you, so to speak, and then your body. So you can't control whether you're going to be hungry or not. It happens. You're stuck with that rhythm. The big one that I think comes up for us is sexuality. You're chained to that. And that's the big argument with the reason why they got rid of those, what do you call them, those camps where they tried to turn gay people straight. Yeah, there's some biology to it. It doesn't quite work. It's not superficial or socially made up. It's a biological thing. And I think the argument right now for a lot of that has been moved to the transgender argument. It's the same idea. There's something biologically in there that we're working out. But you're stuck to it. There's a rhythm to the way your body goes. And unless you're aware of it, you're stuck with it. You get to swing with it. Some people are more triggered to be angry than others. Some people are more triggered to go into depression than others. And if you're not aware of that and you don't know how to work with that, it's like being chained to a rhythm. And like a little boat, you're going to go up and down on the waves of that against your will. And on the other end of that, on the top end, is a superego, and that's your culture. What your culture's values are, what they expect of you, what goes on around and all that. And what it's going to do is pull upon you. It has its own rhythm of what it wants. And unless you're fully aware of all the aspects of it, you get to ride that like the waves. And what I feel is like, as the ego, this individual being, unless you choose free will, and what I mean by that is you choose to take control of your life within these two pulls, you're like this little guy in the middle getting pulled apart and pulled across with the rhythm of the superego and the rhythm of the id. And so you're a deterministic creature of both your biology and your culture until you choose free will. And it's a muscle. And the reason I say it's a muscle is this is going to bring it all together now. When you look at your brain, which I'll show right now, the right half of your brain, right half for me, goes ahead and it traces large scale pattern recognition. And what that means is it's looking for major ideas, major patterns, things that are common across time. Consider it's looking for storylines. It's looking for ideas of, okay, men do these things, women do these things, good guys do these things, bad guys do these things. This is what I should expect out of cars. This is what I should expect out of things. And it has like a weaving to it. It's large scale pattern recognition. Whereas the left side, it's looking for small scale pattern recognition, or it's thing you focus on ideas and you would say are the facts. So if you're to break the two apart, you're looking at the right side is like context and left side is content. It's looking for, left side is going to look for, well, here's a thing that happened, like an event or something like that, or here's a person, or here's an individual aspect of something I'm experiencing now. And then it goes to the right side of your brain, which interestingly enough is more emotionally rooted. And the right side gives you its valence, basically its meaning. It makes a fact or an objective thing no longer a fact. It's going to tell you if it's good, bad, something to avoid. It's going to give you some sort of value and meaning for it, usually guided towards action. And it's pretty much, you would say, is the unconscious, whereas this other side that we're talking about is looking consciously at things. And so you're chained to the rhythm of the way you've been programmed, because as you've grown up, everything you've experienced, everything you've talked about, all the meanings and the meaningful conversations you've had with people and your parents and the traumatic events and the good events have been programmed on that right side. And so what it's doing is it's as like a map that everything gets put onto. And it's been built up throughout all your years of your life. And so what I mean, unless you choose free will, you're not consciously updating that. And the way I mean you can update that, and to double back again real quick, I think where we see this right now is in politics. Yes, there's a fact. We see people show a fact that most people agree with, and then you'll see the way everyone interprets it completely different, and it's annoying. Everyone will take it completely different directions as to what that fact means. But it doesn't take away that it's a fact. And we get this mindset from the idea of the whole scientific revolution. We've only been thinking objectively about things, or at least telling ourselves we have, for the last 400 years. It's a whole new part of our brain and a whole new way of, not part of our brain, a new way of thinking. And you think the proof of this is go back to the Dark Ages. Everyone would talk about things with the meaning that they were supposed to mean attached to the object. So wolves out in the woods were always talked about as if they're devils. They're this evil thing because, Back then, before guns and everything like that, they could kill people. Pack a wolf would go take down somebody if they went out at night and were alone. So they're devils. Certain things were considered good and heavenly, and certain things considered bad. And if you listen to certain lectures out there, like with Jordan Peterson, and even some things that they talk about with Franz de Waal, they mention this idea of possibility that religion is the embodiment of these types of, or the abstraction of these types of beliefs that are going on in our brain. But either way, it proves that this idea of looking at things objectively, I think we fooled ourselves a bit. Or we go, oh, I'm looking at it objectively. But then we made subconscious the part of our brain that gives value to everything and gives meaning to everything. And in doing so, we're not really actively choosing where we put our meaning. And I think the way we update that is by really questioning what we give meaning to. That's why I think the power of a question is so important. And the reason is there was a study they did where you bring in people and you have them write, say, 1,000 words on something. And you usually try to choose something they're against. So if you bring in a bunch of, a good example, that's pretty much the study showed, if you bring a bunch of Occupy Wall Street people in, right, and you tell them to write a 4-page essay on why business is good, first of all, they're going to grumble and throw a bitch fit about it, but they'll write it out. And if you get them to write it out in entirety, why it's good, like honestly, why is business good, and have them go through it. Check in with them 6 months later. They will have improved views on business. Long term, it sticks with them. So what I'm saying is, it's almost like recoding. If the right side of your brain has this map, it's like remapping your brain when you say, what is this or what is that? And you really think about something. I think the power is in a question, because it's like abstracting that compartment out. And we do think categorically, that category out, and you have to reanalyze it, pull in the parts that are good or bad. Why are they good or bad? And you really think about where you got those from. Was that from certain experiences? Was it from certain ideas? Was it from something somebody told me and I just said, screw it? Was it from something I read? How deep am I into this, that this is real for me? And so what I believe is our ability to ask questions actually strengthens our free will muscle, such that you can remap constantly as new facts come in, which I think is what we're supposed to do. And I think is, if you think of it this way, we're in a new active place of evolution where we're trying to get these two parts of our brains to work cohesively more than ever. And what I'm asking you to do is make conscious this part that we've generally driven into the unconscious, that why we give value and meaning to everything. What does it mean to be, like I said in one of my other videos, what does it mean to be a man? Or what does it mean to be a woman? Or what does it mean to be straight? What does it mean to be gay or anything like that? These are ideas that are rooted deeply into who we see we are and how we view other people. And if we can really dig into those, we can transform, so to speak, the narrative of our lives. And I think this idea of what we're seeing in politics is the idea of looking at facts only and not updating or checking in with the narrative and remapping it as necessary as new facts come in, is showing the narrative run wild. The right side of your brain totally run wild and control the value and meaning of every fact that comes in, such that it doesn't matter what fact comes in or what idea or event takes place. The brain is telling you what it means without you really having a choice in the matter. And so what I'm saying is, ask yourself questions. When something bugs you, something trips you out, ask, why does that bug me? Why is that even bad? Start questioning what's good and bad. As stupid as it sounds, you'll start finding out a lot of things aren't as bad as they are. A lot of things are neutral, and you give it all this meaning. But check it out. Let me know what you guys think. If you liked what I had going on here, hit the like button down below. If you'd like to see more of what I got going on coming here, I put out a video every Sunday. Hit the subscribe button. Check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, a few other ones. I have them listed on there. And if you'd like to have any questions, I'd like you guys to join the conversation. What do you think about this? Are we really free, or are we determined, or is it a bit of a constrained free will like we're talking about here? Is there a bit more to it? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.